We're going to go ahead and open this meeting. Actually, we're opening 4 meetings all at once. The City Council meeting, Public Financing Authority, Civic League, and the RDA successor meeting. Happy New Year, everybody. And this is the first meeting of the year, January 13th, 2015. And so we're going to start with the flag salute, led by our city manager.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll have the invocation by our city clerk.
Father God, we are thankful that we are in the new year, and we just pray that this year will be a blessing to everyone. Father, we have a council that is very dedicated to the business of the city and to the community and to the residents. We are so thankful for that. And Father, we just ask the special blessing on the council tonight and everyone that's here in this room today. Just as they do the business of the city, and let everything be pleasing to you. We thank you in thy holy name. Amen.
Roll call.
Councilmember Director Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Director Gomez.
Here.
Councilmember Director Farfan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Member Rios.
Present.
Mayor Chair Member Bruce.
Here.
You have a quorum.
We're going to start the evening with a video by our staff person Bashir on the volunteer recognition dinner. If we can have that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City of Hawaiian Gardens Annual Volunteer Recreation Dinner. This evening, we gather to honor those who have donated their time and effort to the City of Hawaiian Gardens. Everyone here appreciates the dedication displayed by our volunteers who have been instrumental in providing the services that our community enjoys.
Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. Really happy to see all of you volunteers that were able to come tonight. Happy to see all of you who came to support our volunteers. I just want to say God bless you to each and every one of you, and thank you for all the things that you do for this city. To see a 14-year-old say, I don't have to get paid to help somebody. Yeah, that's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. And I'm so thankful that the City of Hawaiian Gardens is helping teach young people that truth, that you don't have to get paid to help somebody, that you can do something just because it's right and it feels good and it's awesome. And volunteering right helps everybody. You go to volunteer and you think you're going to go help somebody, and you end up leaving feeling great, right?
So I'm going to go ahead and start with the names. So come forward. These are the volunteers from the Senior Center. Okay, now coming up, we're going to have the volunteers from the lunch program. Our next group of volunteers are from the C. Robert Lee Special Events.
Of course, every volunteer is important to the success of our city programming, but even among all of these people that we have recognized already, there are there are two that we recognize each year for just their amazing amount of hours that they contribute to the needs of others. So I'd like to introduce our Volunteers of the Year. This recipient, this Volunteer of the Year, volunteered over 300 hours during the summer with the Junior Lifeguard Program. At only 14 years of age, she demonstrated leadership and commitment to our community with over 300 hours of community service with the Human Service Department. Will you give a big hand for Elizabeth Romero? Thank you very much. We did have another recipient as well, but she wasn't there that evening, so I guess that's why she wasn't on the video. Now we're going to have oral communications. This is the time reserved for you, the public, who wish to speak on an item that's on or not on the agenda for any one of these 4 meetings that we're opening tonight. You have about 3 minutes to share, so we ask that you keep it to that. And the City Council is not allowed to discuss or take any action on the items that are presented during oral communication that are not on the agenda. City Council members can discuss any changes in the order. Oh, I'm sorry. City Council members can respond to any of your anything that you say at the end of the total presentation of oral communications. So, does anybody have anything to speak tonight, or any questions you want to ask?
Good evening. My name is Karen Kavanaugh. I'm here from the Weingartens Public Library to announce our upcoming programs. We are going to be starting up our Parents and Toddlers Storytime again. So our next Parents and Toddlers Storytime is tomorrow, Wednesday, January 14th, from 11 to 11:45 a.m. That is a time for parents with children ages 1 through 3 to come and do some stories, some songs, art activities, and all families that attend will get a free board book for their child. We will be having a family story time on Wednesday, January 21st, and that'll be at 6:30 p.m. Come celebrate the new year with new stories and a Lunar New Year themed art activity. It's fun for the whole family. And then our next teen program will be Thursday, January 29th at 4 p.m. We're going to be focusing, since it's a new year, we will be focusing on a healthy new year for teens. Start off the new year right by making a healthy snack, getting tips on healthy living, and conquering the Move It Challenge. And that is for students in grades 6 through 12. Then our Friends of the Library group is also having an event coming up. On Saturday, February 7th, they'll be taking a turnaround trip to the Viejas Casino. The bus will depart at 8 a.m. from the public library and return around 6 p.m. And they are selling tickets as a fundraiser. So if you're interested in purchasing a ticket for the Viejas turnaround trip, please get a hold of Rosie Gomez. And I have flyers, and there'll be information at the library if you need any more information about that. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? This is going to be a quick meeting, huh? Anybody have any comments for Karen? I would just like to inform the public that if you haven't checked out our library yet, you should check it out. It's a great place, and Karen always has a lot of great programs going on there for all ages, so please check it out. Okay, we'll move on now. Do I close that, or I just move on? Okay. So now we have agenda organization. This is the time where city council members discuss any changes or order of agenda items. Does anybody want to move anything around? Okay, then we'll go ahead and keep it. No? No public hearings. Ordinances, none. Consent calendar. The items listed on the consent calendar are considered as routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. And there'll be no separate discussion of these items unless one of you wants to pull one of them. Does anybody want to pull one of the consent calendar items?
If I may, item 2.
Item C4.
I'd like to pull number 5.
I think we should also pull number 3.
We got left here. So we basically have 1 and 6. Somebody make a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve the remainder of the consent calendar in its entirety.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Unanimous. Okay, let's look at consent calendar item number 2. It says adopt resolution number 002, 2015, to accept the construction of commercial rehabilitation program improvements at Kelly OK Tire located at 21302 Norwalk Boulevard, and to authorize the city clerk to file the notice of completion. Joe?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this is basically a standard administrative item we do at the conclusion of a commercial rehabilitation project, which is to basically declare the project more or less complete. If you recall, on November 12, 2013, the City Council approved some funding for the rehabilitation of the tire shop. The total amount spent was about $119,229.53. There was also, of course, the unrelated construction that dealt more with the residents. And other than some minor punch list items, this project is done. We did schedule a ribbon cutting ceremony for this project for January 28 at 11:30 a.m.
I just want to say thanks to staff and the company that worked on the construction and all the upgrades to this location. Looks great, a huge improvement, and I just look forward to the near future. Hopefully, we can continue projects like this, because this is a great example of, visual changes in the community and progress. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And you said the grand reopening is January 28th at 11:30 a.m.?
Correct.
And that's open to the public, correct?
They could come if they like to, or if Ramon has any, I'm sure his employees will be participating as well. But we like to know ahead of time so we can so we can be prepared ahead of time.
Oh, so you'd like
Kind of like
public
an
to
RSV.
call
Yeah.
the office here?
Correct.
So if you'd like to attend, then please call the office to give them a heads up. And, it's always good to see new things opening, or reopening in our community. So that's good news. Okay.
So before you make any comments, I just need to recuse myself from voting, because I live within 500 feet of the project.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's right.
Okay, then, there's no other comments. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Consent item number 3, adopt resolution number 003, 2015, to approve a professional service agreement with HBE Landscape Architects for complete design services for a landscape streetscape plan for Carson Street between Pioneer and Norwalk Boulevards. Joe again.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, the Council had authorized us to circulate an RFP for complete design services for landscaping streetscape plan for Carson Street, which would be between Pioneer Boulevard to Norwalk Boulevard. We did circulate it, and basically 6 firms had responded. There was a committee that met with all 6 firms and interviewed all 6 individuals. The committee was composed of myself, the city engineer, the contract planner, and council member Ronaldo Rodriguez. We did, after having considered the 6 firms, we did invite 2 of them back that we thought were most qualified to perform these type of services for the project. And at the end, we ended up selecting Abbott Landscape Architects. Their original bid amount was $269,148. We did negotiate it down to $240,385. Basically, what they would be preparing is all any conceptual drawings, And then from there, they would be preparing actual as-built, actual architectural plans so that we can go to an RFP for construction services. So basically, it's a turnkey operation for purposes of designing the streetscape plan for the boulevard. That concludes the presentation.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Yes, being part of the committee, I was present when they interviewed the 6 contractors, and I know it's not me that we pick one of the highest bidders, because I know I'm going to be getting a lot of static on this. But going through their concepts and their information, their presentation, this HAB was the best one, and I know it's one of the highest. It's $240,000, and like I said, it's not something that I normally would do. If you know the last 4 or 5 years, that's all I've been fighting. I've been fighting this, but somehow this one here ended up being the best one, and so. The lowest bidder was SWA, which was $93,000. Or no, actually it was Richard Fisher Associates, $90,000. But they didn't have they didn't give us a concept of what they were going to do with our street. They didn't give us information on what kind of trees we could use, what kind of palm trees, benches, fixing up our sidewalks. None of these contractors really gave us a good information on that. All they spoke was of what they have done, or what they didn't actually tell us what they would do with Carson. And HBE did tell us, well, we can do this, we can do that, and so anyway, that's how we ended up picking the contractor, the design contractor. So if anybody. If anybody has...
We're taking notes.
No, I believe quality is comparable to the monetary value. So as long as we get quality, then I think that's the best for our city.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What I liked about this proposal is there's going to be a walking tour. And I'd like, if we do approve the motion, that I would like to participate as part of that walking tour to see how we can benefit our city.
Yeah, let me explain more or less what will happen if this goes through. And I believe once a year there's a selection of various committees throughout the city that's appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council as a whole. So just so you know, the committee that I usually end up using for this project is called the Capital Improvement Committee, which currently is Council Member Ronaldo Rodriguez and Michael Gomez. It may change when it gets selected again. I think it's at the next council meeting when that happens. That doesn't mean that we can't have other council members involved, but we do have to, only 2 people can be part of that committee. I think Omar may have something to say about that. But if we wanted to have a separate tour or separate input, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, if you have more than 2 council members in the committee, then it becomes a Brown Act meeting, and we would have to comply with all the requirements of the Brown Act.
I don't necessarily want to be part of the committee. However, I do want to be part of that walking tour.
We'll definitely.
So, I don't know if we need to call a special meeting or separately meet just with me.
You can give us comments. We'll definitely accept them. And no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, council members can attend committee meetings, but those who are not part of the committee can only observe, cannot participate.
I would love to observe.
I have a couple of questions. Concerning the scope of the project, earlier today we had a meeting with the auditor, and one of the things was discussed about how we need to, diversify our opportunities for income to the city, as far as not putting all our eggs in the casino basket type of thing. And it reminded me of, and it's in the paper recently, I believe it's the city of Artesia. They just approved a project to improve their downtown shopping district, and and to make it more walkable and all that stuff that we want to do, I think. And one of the things that they mentioned in their planning is they involve the local businesses who are on the boulevard to ask them their input on what they would like to see, what they might think might help their businesses. So I don't know if that's something that we've thought of doing, or is it in the realm of possibility that we could do, but it sounded like a good idea to me.
Yeah, as part of the RFP, public participation is one of the items that we did include. So
Okay.
It's not just participation from staff.
Okay, good.
I was really happy that you rejected the pink and blue themed consultant. That was good. That was a good rejection, I think. I don't think this city's a pink and blue city. I don't know. But so anyway, so someone make a motion to accept this.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Moving on to consent calendar item number 4. Adopt resolution 004-2015 to accept the construction improvements for the rubberized asphalt concrete overlay on various residential streets for fiscal year 2013-2014, a Measure R project completed by R.J. Noble Company in the amount of $343,133.72, and to authorize the city clerk to file a notice of completion.
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, again, this is another administrative item that we need to take care of after completion of a public works project. This was our yearly maintenance on the overlays in the community. R.J. Noble of Orange County had the contract for these services. Total cost was $343,133.72. Basically, the project has been done to the satisfaction of the city engineer, and all of the cost for this project was from Measure R.
I just have one question on page 141. That $379,398, what is that number for? I mean,
That's the total cost of the project, which entails all your project management, any testing, plans, specifications. So the only portion that R.J. Noble did was the actual construction of the roadways, which was the overlays, placing new asphalt on the roadways. So the entire project amount involves not just the construction, but there's also inspection services, testing services, design services, all those extra things.
So the construction total is $343,000.
Right, which is the part that we are required to actually record the notice of completion for that amount.
And then the 379 is...
That includes the total construction cost of the project.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone make a motion to adopt a resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I ask one thing? When you say rubberized asphalt, what does that exactly mean? I mean, there's rubber obviously in the asphalt.
Right.
What's the reasoning for that?
Correct. And if you want more of a technical specification, I just so happen to have the city engineer right behind me.
Oh. I'm just curious. I don't need to. Is it? I just wanted to kind of know why it was rubberized.
As you know, there are two types of asphalt. One is a conventional asphalt, which doesn't have any rubber in it, and then rubberized asphalt, where you take the crumb rubber tires, they are crumbed up, and then you add to the asphalt based on the specification that you have in the Green Book. So it does help recycle the tires. At the same time, if you really drive on a conventional asphalt, you find that it's pretty hard, whereas you drive on the rubberized asphalt, it's really soft, and you don't even hear a lot of noise when you drive. So it does help.
Oh, that's interesting. Good way to use up the tires that are just stacking up everywhere.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't also the the rubberized, it cures a lot faster than the other, than the regular asphalt?
As far as curing is concerned, not really. The only problem being that when it's hot, you don't want any traffic to go over it. So normally what they do is to protect seeing the creases from the tire, they normally do is throw sand on it. So then this way you allow the vehicles to go over it faster. In other words, just increase the curing time.
Yeah, because when they did on Juan, I mean, they just laid it down, and just a few minutes later, you can get out right on it. It was already ready to drive through.
Yeah, the asphalt must be at a temperature that they could allow the traffic to go over it. And I'm sure at the same time they threw sand on the asphalt.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. Okay, so do we have a motion? Oh, we already did that. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're moving to consent item number 5. Adopt resolution number 005, 2015, to establish salary ranges, benefits, and employment terms and conditions for unrepresented confidential professional and management employees, human resource manager, and assistant city manager.
Mayor, members of the City Council, as of last year, we have 2 employee positions that are no longer covered by the memorandum of understanding with the unions, and they're not covered currently by a contract. Therefore, the state law requires that you adopt a resolution setting the salary and terms of employment for these 2 positions. One of them is vacant. The assistant city manager position is vacant. The second one is a human resources manager. That one is currently filled and would be impacted directly by this resolution. The resolution establishes the salary and terms of employment, which differ somewhat from the terms of employment and salaries that are allocated pursuant to the MOUs negotiated with the unions. And obviously the city manager also has a separate contract that differs from all of these. So at this time, the recommendation is for you to adopt the resolution establishing the salary ranges and the terms of employment for these 2 unrepresented professional positions. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to defer to the city manager. Also, Personnel Counsel, Barbara Revenue, is with us, and she can help us answer some of your questions if you have any.
Is there a raise as part of this resolution?
Yes, there was well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a raise, but there is an increase in salary. And the reason I did that was because there is some costs that are going to be transferred over to both of those employees or those positions. For example, they will be required to pay a portion of their pension or retirement. So that additional increase was provided for that reason.
My only concern is that has there been negotiation with the other units in terms of their raises?
No, we successfully agreed with both units to extend the agreement and start negotiations actually this year. So we're going to be discussing next steps with you all collectively in closed session. And, we can provide you more information then.
Is there an urgency to this matter? I mean, that it cannot wait to discuss this at the same time with the other units?
Yes, there is, because we currently have no contracts, no regulations pertaining to the employment of these 2 unrepresented employees. We do need to have something on the books. And also, we do report to the state of California all of the salary ranges for not just council manager, but all the employees, and new laws require that we post them on the website as well. So we do need to have some form of written documentation indicating what their salary ranges are and what the terms of employment apply to those 2 positions. Currently, they're not covered by MOUs, they're not covered by agreement, they're just in limbo.
My concern is that we're talking about giving someone a raise when I understand our employees have forgone a raise for I'm not sure how many years have the employees in the city forgone a raise?
It's probably been at least 5 years.
Is there potential for them to get a raise this year?
Council sets policy and provides staff with direction in reference to any salary increases, such as that, negotiations and all. So we would have to look at that when we enter and start meeting on those type issues.
These jobs are not covered by the union. These are regular management jobs. So they will mostly get raises in accordance to what the rest of the city gets, the rest of the employees get. That's the same thing with Ernesto. All the benefits and everything is what they get is what Ernesto gets. Being he's a, I guess you call him at will employee,
right?
Where he can get fired anytime you decide or whatever it is. And the city administrator will be the same way, or
well,
I mean the assistant
in the past,
in the future.
I think it's safe to say that whatever benefits any of the groups have received, they've all received it together. And I think in a prior discussion with you all, one of the things we wanted to accomplish is to meet collectively with each individual unit as opposed to negotiating, together with all the groups. So unless, council provides any different direction, I mean, that's the direction we were headed in.
I mean, as a union member, I know that different unions negotiate for their different members. In my position, there's a union that already took a pay increase. However, teachers are negotiating a higher pay increase because they chose to just negotiate at that moment. I don't feel comfortable, and I don't see the urgency of the matter, giving certain employees raises if we haven't discussed the possibility of giving raises to all the other employees. As I understand, our residents are paying for certain services in our city because of the lack of money or the perceived lack of money in our city. So my suggestion is not that I'm opposed to the raise for this individual or the position that is at hand, but if we can table this particular motion where the unions can be negotiating at the same time, if they opt to forego a raise, I would feel comfortable if at least at that point each union has expressed their position or opinion on a matter.
Well, why don't we table it, and then we should have a closed session on this in the next meeting? Or did you say we don't have any time? Because I know it's hard to understand what you're doing here, because we're only talking about 2 employees, which in the management position type, and those 2 employees are, like I said, they're not in the union. It's just like any business out there. All your management is not in the union, except the city is unique because everybody's in the union except for one person right now, and that would be Ernesto. And the HR manager. So those are the only 3 individuals that this pertains to, really.
Well, if history precedes anything, it should be the union members that should be receiving the raise first.
But how did you, when we're talking about a salary or an increase, we really didn't have any to begin with. So, as far as, first of all, assistant manager, you don't have, that's no, we're just talking about the HR person. Is she getting a higher wage than what the previous HR person have, or are we?
If we start discussing the position, I think that's a personnel matter, and it's not necessarily a judgment of her position of her good performance. It's just a blanket that whoever holds that position will get an increase because of the position that they hold, not necessarily because of the job that they're doing. I understand there's been times where unions have gone without a contract. We have budget coming up. When are we having budget? 3 more months? If we could table this particular resolution until that time, and if no one else opposes it, I don't find a problem approving it.
But don't we have this HR person in place, and she's working without an agreement?
Yeah, that's not
That's
very
the issue.
responsible of us to let her float for 3 more months, so.
And I think also, I think when you negotiate with the union, it's more than just salary. There's a lot of other negotiations, other things that get discussed. So that's why it's not just, you don't just come to an agreement right away. It's a protracted give and take type of thing. So I from what I hear Omar saying, that there is kind of a need to do this, to have something on the books. Right?
Can you just clarify one thing that you did bring up, and that was in reference to the retirement benefits, and there's a distinction, if I am not correct, between her retirement benefits and the rest of the employees working for the city, and that is the sense that she's going to be contributing.
Yes, that is correct.
So potentially at the end of the day, we are saying that she's going to get some type of merit increase, but because she's contributing, it essentially might be flat, because now she's contributing unlike other employees out there that aren't necessarily contributing to that fund in terms of retirement.
Well, if you look at the agreement as a whole, there's several sections that are different than what the current employees receive, management employees receive.
Yes, there is another aspect of it in regards to the medical retirement as well.
Right.
In
Retiring
regards
medical.
to years of service.
That's correct.
That in itself, I mean, that's a cost, an additional potential cost. So to say that she's necessarily getting an increase in merit might not be true if you truly look at everything as a whole and overall costs in terms of benefits.
Again, Mr. Fairfan, it's not a matter of the person in the position, it's the matter that this position's getting a raise. So I'm not talking particularly about the person in the job at the moment.
Well, I'm not talking about the individual, I'm talking about
the contract.
well, I mean, he or she, the individual in that title, we're talking about the benefit program as a whole. And there's a distinction between the current benefit program that this individual will be now having versus other staff members.
Go ahead, Barbara, you can.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I just wanted to point out a couple other issues, not to persuade you to do one thing or the other. There is the issue that Omar pointed out, that the government code actually does require that a resolution be adopted. And so because you have somebody in that position that's actually holding that position currently, there is an obligation, an affirmative obligation to adopt such a resolution. But I did want to point out, with respect to Councilmember Farfan's comment on retiree medical, that's actually a fairly significant issue because it's the employees under this resolution are only receive retiree medical after 10 years of service, as opposed to the management employees who basically receive it on a prorated basis, so that it's not something that vests after 10 years. The other issue is that the management employees and rank and file employees enjoy several union-protected rights, including final and binding arbitration, which is not just an abstract concept. It's actually a hard cost when you look at how these disciplinary and grievance matters are handled. There's also a limitation in terms of what matters can be grieved. There's some significant substantive limitations to these two positions that aren't necessarily monetary, but are part of the whole negotiation process for all employees. So there's a significant loss of benefits to these individuals versus the management employees where they used to be a part of. And so, and I don't know if that was part of the city manager's thought process in believing that a 5% increase was appropriate, but I just wanted to point out some of those additional differences so that everyone's on the same page in that regard. And I'm happy to expand or answer any other questions on that.
Well, if we need to approve the motion today, I would withhold the 5% increase until all other units are negotiated and just adopt it as is her position today.
One last issue. If I may, there's actually part of the reason, just to give background, because I know, council member, you were not part of this process when the two positions were removed from the bargaining unit. But one of the main reasons they were removed is because the HR manager and presumably an assistant city manager, if they're involved, would be part of the negotiation process. And they would be conflicted out from negotiating for benefits that they themselves would be receiving. So to actually fold it in as part of the same process would kind of feed into that same conflict issue that was the primary reason for pulling these two positions out, that they're two separate positions and they should be treated as such.
And I agree in terms of the differentiation, but an increase is an increase. I mean, perceived for an employee that you have not received an increase for 8 years, you are not working certain days of the week because we need you to continue working for the city, help us out. We need to, increase fees for the residents because we need to help us out. As a council member, it just does not suit me well to give somebody an increase when the other union members or the other employees, because regardless, these two individuals are employees of the city.
Sure. And please don't perceive my comments as trying to persuade you that that is the correct action. I just wanted to make sure you understood kind of the reason why these two positions have been separated out and why I believe the 5%, some of the reasons why the 5% increase was suggested or recommended by the city manager.
And at that time, later on when all the other units negotiate and they forego their increase, we can definitely give these two positions an increase if that's the case. At that time, I would have no problem.
I think, I look, harken back to the time of the essence part of having some kind of a resolution, because the negotiations with the unions usually tend to drag on. It's not something that's going to come to agreement in the next 2 weeks or the next 2 months probably. And so we have this hanging over our head that we're not complying with whatever state regulation there is. And there are two separate items. You have positions where people are at will, and they're basically free to negotiate on their own type of thing, where and they're not part of a bargaining unit. So I feel it's kind of two separate entities.
Just to clarify, they're not at will. They do have due process rights. They are entitled to, protections, just not the same level of final and binding arbitration that the other unions have negotiated for. Okay, good. I'm glad you clarified that.
Well, I would like to amend this resolution, or unless there's already a motion to approve it as is, to secure these two positions. Approval, however, withholding the 5% raise at this time.
Does anybody want to second her amendment, or do we want to vote on it as is?
Again, this is not a union raise. There's two separate, where they're completely separate. As far as the raise for the union, that's going to be negotiated at this year at our union negotiations. So at that time, that's our employers, our union employees, are going to negotiate their raises. And this particular one is there's they're not in the union, and apparently I haven't heard any complaints or from the person that we're talking about that, and she more or less agrees to go with what Ernesto presented. So no matter what happens, I just, like I said, there's two different things here. We have a union and non-union. So we can't tie it up the non-union with the union at this time as far as raises go. And the money that she's going to get as a raise, she's going to have to pay for her own pension, or what is going to be used for insurance or a pension. She's going to, which a union employee doesn't pay zero. Yeah, a portion of it, and the union people pay zero. So that's where that little increase that I don't know how much increase we're talking about from what it was. Okay, 5%. So, like I said, it's two different items, union and non-union. So, as far as the union goes, they're going to be able to negotiate this year. As far as what they're going to get as a raise, or what they're going to ask for, what kind of a raise they want, or as far as benefits goes, they can't get any better benefits than they have now. They don't pay nothing, zero. So
I don't hear a second on this, on Mariana's amendment. Then, do I have a motion then to accept the resolution as is written?
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution as written.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mariana, what was your? Did you get her? Were you abstaining, or were you saying no?
Oh, I'm waiting for the next one. Right now, it's approval. Excuse me. Right, that was the approval.
Yeah, the approval of this resolution as written, and then we took a vote. Everybody said aye, but I didn't hear what you said.
Right, so then you go on to the next one. All those opposed?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm like waiting for my...
All those opposed?
Procedurally.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I will oppose it.
Okay.
On the principle.
All the others have been, we finished the consent calendar. Discussion items. New business. We're going to just take, is there any new business? Not that I'm aware of. Okay. We're going to go ahead and open the Public Financing Authority. Excuse me? I was going to open and close each one of those, and then I was going to do that and then go to closed session. I can do that, yeah. Let's just do it that way. Okay, so Public Financing Authority. The consent calendar only has one item on it, which is a presentation of minutes.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So that was unanimous, and the adjournment of the public financing meeting. In the Civic League meeting, there is also only one consent calendar item on there, which is a presentation of minutes. Have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, and the adjournment of that meeting. And the successor agency RDA, again, on this meeting, there is only two items on the consent calendar to adopt resolution to approve pre-issued warrants and regular warrants in the amount of $13,727.50. And the presentation of minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and there are no discussion items or new business or any other business. And so the adjournment for the successor agency meeting, next meeting, regular meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 27th, 2015 at 6 p.m. And now we will go to oral staff reports in the regular council meeting.
Yes, Mayor and City Council, earlier this evening you saw a video of last weekend's volunteer recognition dinner, and I once again wanted to announce the winners, the two winners. As you saw in the video, Elizabeth Romero was one of our volunteers of the year who served as a junior lifeguard at our swimming pool during the summer. And also our other winner, who unfortunately wasn't able to attend, was Maria Luisa Jaime, who volunteered just over 500 hours in 2014 assisting at our senior lunch program. And Ms. Jaime actually takes the bus every day from the city of Norwalk to come to our facility. So we wanted to publicly recognize these two fine volunteers one more time, as well as the over 50 volunteers that we honored last Saturday.
Yes, I have one announcement. I just wanted to, a general announcement to everyone in the community that we still have funds available for the Housing Rehabilitation Program. That is the program that basically allows you to renovate the exterior of your house, whether it's fencing, landscaping, roof improvements, anything that basically is at the exterior of the house that's more or less from the right-of-way that we can improve the appearance or aesthetics of the property. The program, though, is for low-income families. If you have any questions, please contact Selena in the Community Development Department.
All right, thank you very much.
Can I just make a comment real quick? Joe, I mean, is there any way or possibility, I know we've done this in the past, where if we're not getting the applicants, then we could potentially send flyers to particular homes that, you know, the community might...
We are working...
It might be sensitive, but, you know.
Yeah, it's something that I've discussed with Ernesto, but I think we're going to be working, if we don't get enough applicants, we're going to be working on a flyer that's just dedicated for this program that's going to be used as a mail out to everybody in the community. Though, as you know, the program was designed just for low-income families, so we're going to have to stress that out on the flyer as well.
Okay, well, that's even better.
So it's something that we're working on.
Great.
Thank you. Any oral council reports?
No, I don't. Yeah, you mentioned the volunteer and the video was great, and I wanted to just say I agree totally with the mayor. The comments he made during the program talked about how important it was to volunteer, and especially the part about how when you're helping somebody else, you don't realize how much comes back to you and how you benefit from it. And I think it's just that I really think that's so important that people think of others and try to find some way to help others. I mean, it's simple things. I'm laughing to myself because I'm thinking of this song that it's kind of like the way I try to conduct myself when you talk about seeing, getting involved and not just complaining about something but trying to do something. And I think it was I'm going to say the words, so I'm not going to sing it. but it was Michael Jackson. I think it was that man in the mirror. He says, I'm talking to the man in the mirror, and I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. And now I'm having a senior moment.
I love that song.
but if you want to make the world a better place, you got to change your ways. Look in the mirror and make that change. That's what it was, and that's what we all got to do. Look in the mirror and make that change. Do something positive to help the community. So that's enough of that soapbox. One other thing I wanted to comment on. Last night in the news, there was a house that burned down because people still had their Christmas tree in their house, and I guess they're using it for kindling wood for the fireplace, and it burned the house down. So I just want to remind everybody those things burn fast. So please get rid of your trees. And then that leads me to one other thing, and I think Sue knows that. I've had my tree in my front lawn for 2 weeks and it's not been picked up yet. So hopefully tomorrow they pick it up. So anybody else? I think the trash company is supposed to pick them up trash day. So if you have those trees out there, put them at the curb and hopefully they'll get picked up. That's it.
Well, I wanted to comment on the employee dinner recognition. That was awesome. That was the first time I went, and all the employees received tons of great recognitions or gifts, actually. I don't think it was acknowledgement. It was more like gifts for being part of our employees, and that was awesome. Same thing with our volunteer recognition this Saturday. So thank you to the employees and the volunteers that help support our great city. Thank you.
I did have one thing that I wanted to add to, speaking of trash that isn't picked up. If you have a large item, like a mattress or an old toilet or something like that, something big that doesn't fit into your trash can, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to call the trash company and you're to ask them to pick it up. And then they will pick it up, what is it, Ray, the following Wednesday or so? So it should not be out there, for weeks on end. You need to call and you need to report, or you need to let them know that you have a pickup. And I think they do how many pickups a year?
I think 3.
3 pickups a year. So make use of that and make sure you call them so that you don't have to stare at a mattress or whatever week on end. Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, I have to shoot back up now. We have a closed session, so we're going to take a recess for a while, and we'll report back after the closed session. Do you bang this baby? Oh, not yet. Okay, after our closed session, we selected a committee is going to be established to procure a negotiator for labor negotiations, and there was nothing else decided upon. So with that, we can adjourn the meeting to the next regular city council meeting to be held on Tuesday, January 27th, 2015 at 6 p.m.